Steelers fans, I believe there are only 4 wide receiver prospects in the 2026 NFL draft class that are worth the Pittsburgh Steelers using their first-round pick on this year. Today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to reveal who my 4 wide receiver prospects are in round 1, and also I'm pretty sure my 4th one today is going to ruffle some feathers. But before we get into today's video, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon, because if you guys want a day 2 wide receiver draft targets video, my bosses tell me I need 1,000 likes on this video to be able to do a day 2 wide receiver draft targets video. So if you guys want to see the receivers that I would like the Steelers to target in rounds 2 and 3 of this year's NFL draft, make sure you click that thumbs up icon, help out the show, and prove to my bosses that this content does well here on Steelers Talk. All right, so I do believe that wide receiver should be Pittsburgh's priority in round 1 this year. I just think that having a balanced wide receiver room in terms of how much you're paying your wide receivers is a good thing to adopt. I think there's some really good wide receiver talent this year. I think that because you've got 4 wide receivers that you could potentially choose from, we're going to talk about the 4 receivers today, I feel pretty good about the Steelers' chances of getting one of these guys. And with DK Metcalf making $33 million per season, I would say getting a cheap wide receiver 2 to pair with them over the next half decade is probably preferred. Now, we've talked about wide receiver trade targets on this channel, and I'm also open to that possibility, because the reality is you're not going to be paying your quarterback all that much. Speaking of that quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, I'm assuming, is going to be back next year. He'll probably be on a contract worth $10 to $15 million over one season, similar to what it was last year. But the thing about Aaron Rodgers and him being your starting quarterback is that to play with him, you have to know how to run routes, quote unquote, like a pro. And what I mean by that is you have to break open when it's your turn to break open. So what I'm talking about here is you have a full field progression read, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 to check down usually. And, Aaron Rodgers expects, while he's going through his progressions, all of his receivers to hopefully be breaking open at certain times in his progression. And if you don't know how to time your routes, if you don't know how to run routes, quote unquote, like a pro, and this is a big issue with Roman Wilson here with the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, apparently, you're not going to get the ball. You're not going to get thrown the football in this offense. And, I think that you got to get somebody that already brings that to the table if you're going to have a rookie receiver have success with Aaron Rodgers, a quarterback that has notoriously not had a ton of success with rookie receivers in his career. Now, the other thing about playing with Rodgers is because Rodgers is not an out-of-structure playmaker anymore. He's very much an in-structure, win-from-the-pocket type of guy. He needs a stocked wide receiver room for him to have success. Now, I think the Steelers already, upgraded, a big part of the offense this year in going from Arthur Smith to Mike McCarthy as the offensive play caller. But the other part of that and giving Rodgers a proper supporting cast is to get him the wide receiver help that he needs and frankly did not have last season with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it's also a plus if they're good after the catch, I would say, because, Rodgers is certainly somebody that, if he doesn't like what he sees initially from the defense, he likes to dump it off, get the ball out in space to playmakers and let them work. If you have a receiver that he can, find a quick outlet to on a drag or on a quick whip route or something like that, that is a plus as far as I'm concerned. So the goal for me in the first round in particular is to draft a high-end wide receiver prospect that can be an impact in an Aaron Rodgers offense on day 1. So they've got to have nuanced route running ability. They have to do a good job after the catch, and they've got to be really talented. You've got to have those 3 things, in my opinion, for me to consider you in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft, specifically when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And for me, there's only 4 wide receivers that fit this bill. That's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. And we'll start here with the kid out of USC, Mr. Makai Lemon, who is absolutely fantastic. My pro comp for him is Jackson Smith-Njigba, okay? And I know, okay, Jackson Smith-Njigba just won Offensive Player of the Year. He's a top 3 receiver in football, and all that difference of it's high praise for a guy like Makai Lemon. For somebody coming into the league, hasn't proven shit. But Lemon just reminds me so much of JSN when he was playing at Ohio State. They're a very similar size. Neither of them is like a crazy special burner athlete or anything like that, but they just play the game with so much nuance, with fantastic footwork, great change of direction and agility, fantastic nuanced route running, knowing when to, marry and time their routes, all those different things to the eyes of the quarterback. They're just super, super smart football players with, by the way, fantastic ball skills. Like for a smaller receiver, a quote-unquote smaller receiver like Makai Lemon, who's not 6 foot, he's like 5'11", he comes down with some of the crazier catches you're going to see in this class, and he's just got great mitts. He's going to catch everything, and when you pair that with the run-after ability, super smooth athlete after the catch as well, you got one of the more complete wide receiver prospects that have come out over the last decade in the NFL, in my opinion. And remember, like JSN went 20th overall in 2023. Like people forget that Jackson Smith-Njigba was seen as somebody that, he's not a fantastic athlete, so we can't take him top 10. Is it possible Makai Lemon falls down the board? I would hope the NFL has learned their lesson from JSN and, take Makai Lemon where he deserves in the top 10. But hey, man, you just never know, especially with guys that aren't going to be combine warriors in the pre-draft process. So who's your wide receiver one in this year's class? I think Makai Lemon has an excellent case to be the number one guy in this class, but there's certainly some other guys in this class that are really, really close as well. So who is the best receiver in the 2026 NFL draft class? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today. Well, I'll tell you about our sponsor today. Let me know who wide receiver one is in the 2026 wide receiver draft class. And with that, you guys can check out our website right now, chatsports.com/pickgreen, to get your Steel City Drinking Team t-shirts. Today, you guys have been asking for merch for a very long time. We have finally delivered here on Steelers Talk. And this t-shirt is going to be around for just a limited time only up until St. Patrick's Day, and it's only $29.99. So this is a great opportunity for you guys to get in on our merch game here. And my bosses tell me the more that we sell of this product, the more merch opportunities that we are going to get throughout the NFL schedule. Okay, so every time the Steelers make a big signing or trade or make a big draft pick or, a big event is coming up like the NFL draft, for example, we're probably going to have some great merch for you guys this offseason, but we got to prove to our bosses that this stuff can sell. So get yours today. I love the green design. I helped our design team here at Chat Sports come up with this design myself. So if you guys want to help support me, help support the channel, go to chatsports.com/pickgreen to get your Steel City Drinking Team t-shirts today. Second receiver we'll talk about today is Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. My pro comp for him is T. Higgins. And, honestly, I think his ceiling is even a little bit higher than T. Higgins because the ball skills on Carnell Tate are borderline generational, okay? And I'm not necessarily somebody that throws around the term generational all that often. I used it for Caleb Williams at the quarterback position. I'm right there to call his ball skills generational. Like, how often do you see a receiver that's got an 85% contested catch rate? Just don't see it very often, man. This guy wins every 50-50 ball situation. He's got long arms. I'm sure he's going to have, huge mitts when he weighs in at the combine. And, make no mistake, he's not just like only an ex-receiver that can come down with 50-50 balls. He's a pretty smooth athlete as well. I won't say he's like of the caliber of route runner as Makai Lemon or the guy we're going to be talking about next, but he's a good route runner for his size and for his athletic profile for somebody that is so good down the field and coming down with those 50-50 ball situations. Like if we still had Russell Wilson, this is the guy that I would want to go get because just throwing up moon balls to this guy all day long would just be so much fun. But Tate is such a great receiver, man. I think that whoever gets him is going to be really happy. And if the Steelers end up getting him, I will certainly be happy as well. But he probably ends up going in the top 10. Then we get to Jordyn Tyson. My pro comp for him is going to be CeeDee Lamb, which is certainly going to, pop some eyeballs open because guess who Mike McCarthy traded up for in 2021 at the receiver position? That would be Mr. CeeDee Lamb. So I look at Tyson's game and he's just so smooth, okay? And the way that he moves, his route running technique, and the way that he gets in and out of the breaks, it reminds me a lot of Justin Jefferson when he was at LSU, okay? And that is obviously high praise because Justin Jefferson is arguably the best receiver in our game today. And if we get anything close to Justin Jefferson out of a Jordyn Tyson, that is obviously a slam dunk home run in the first round for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I would say another comp for him is CeeDee Lamb, where, all three of those guys are similar size. They're all fantastic route runners. They're all three are really good after the catch as well. And, if Jordyn Tyson can just stay healthy, I really do think that his upside is as high as those two legit number one receivers in the National Football League, because nobody can stick to him man-to-man, just plain and simply. The issue is Tyson has a very extensive injury history. He had a really bad knee injury early on in his college career. He broke his collarbone as well, had a hamstring injury last year. This guy has, big medical red flags. And if the medical checks at the combine and pre-draft visits don't go well for him, it's very possible teams take him off their board entirely with medical red flags, which would obviously be beneficial to the Pittsburgh Steelers, because getting a receiver of this caliber, would be just completely life-changing on the offensive side of the ball. And, Pittsburgh, I think that could actually work in their favor, because it makes it more likely that he could be available, not only at 21, but also like in that 15 to 20 range where the Steelers might be wanting to trade up to go get him. If I'm being honest with you guys, out of these top three receivers, I think Jordyn Tyson is the most likely to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, because you got these three guys. They're all great, all right? Which one are you going to take with a top 10 pick that you got to hit on? Like, you're going to take Makai and Carnell Tate because they don't have the same injury concerns. So I think Tyson is the guy that gets out of the top 10 into potentially the later teens, and that's going to provide an opportunity for the Steelers to trade up. They have shown a willingness to take players with medical red flags in the past, and for a guy that's very similar to CeeDee Lamb, I can very much see Mike McCarthy wanting to plug him into his system in his first year here in the Steel City. But then my fourth wide receiver that I'd be willing to take in round one for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Indiana wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr. And my pro comp for him is DJ Moore without the effort issues, which is a really, really good wide receiver. That's a bona fide number one wide receiver in this league. And OCJ, I just think, has as complete of a skill set as just about anybody in this class. If you want to talk about route running, he knows how to marry his routes with the timing and the feet and the eyes of the quarterback. If you want to talk about hands, this guy made that crazy catch at the end. I believe it was the Penn State game where he's making that crazy acrobatic catch at the end of the game that wins Fernando Mendoza the Heisman, arguably. That was his Heisman moment. Omar Cooper Jr. made it happen at the end of the game. If you want to talk about yak ability, this guy is sturdy and can run after the catch. He's not like the fastest guy in the world. I think he'll probably run low 4.4s, but that's plenty fast enough. His route running to the deep part of the field with double moves and stuff like that, he can definitely separate as a vertical threat. Like, this guy's got it all, in my opinion. And, I think that he has a very good chance of being a number one receiver in the National Football League. And I put him in the same tier as Jordyn Tyson and Carnell Tate and Makai Lemon. I consider him in that tier of receiver. And I think because of that, this guy's going to go round one somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers or somebody else in the latter half of the first round. But Omar Cooper Jr., man, he's got just a complete skill set. And I think he's a damn good football player. Now, before I go, I do want to address a couple receivers that you're probably wondering why I wouldn't take them in the first round if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll start with Denzel Boston. Okay, Denzel Boston out of Washington. We'll also talk about Casey Concepcion, two guys that get a lot of buzz out there and I think are good players. I want to make abundantly clear I like these players, and especially I like Denzel Boston a lot. All right, I have a first round grade on Denzel Boston, and somebody's going to be really happy to get this guy. And because of the Jordyn Tyson injury concerns, it actually wouldn't shock me if Boston goes ahead of Tyson, okay? Because Boston doesn't have the same injury concerns, and some teams need a true X receiver. And I think that the Steelers just don't need that type of receiver. You've got DK Metcalf, who already has a limited route tree, and Boston's somebody that is super good at getting open down the field. He's got great contested catch ability down the field, and as a deep route runner, he's really good, but short to intermediate, not going to create a ton of separation there, in my opinion. And for me, I want a more fluid, diverse route runner that can run the entire route tree, that can do everything that you need in that regard, and be that great complement to DK Metcalf. Because you already have a receiver in DK Metcalf who has a limited route tree. He can't run everything. And you kind of want more of a CeeDee Lamb type, or, somebody that can run the whole route tree. And I just don't see Denzel Boston as that guy. Because if you draft him, you've got two guys in DK Metcalf and Denzel Boston that are big body guys. Denzel Boston is excellent catching the ball, in tough situations down the sideline and in the red zone. All that's great. I think Denzel Boston's a really good player, but he's a true X receiver. And if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's not what I'm looking for, especially in the first round of the 2026 NFL NFL draft. Then when it comes to Casey Concepcion, I think he's also a really talented player. I think he's got a ton of juice, okay? His change of direction ability is insane. His speed is blazing. This guy has the potential to be a problem at the NFL level. But I don't think the hands are at the level that Aaron Rodgers would want to play with right now. It's a lot of frustrating drops, not going to come down with a lot of contested catch situations. And I think his route running, particularly to the short and intermediate levels of the field, need more refinement. That timing, that nuance that we talked about, that I think Rodgers really needs in his wide receivers. I don't think Concepcion has all that yet. I think he's got some good moves. He's got a really good Euro step swim to get open down the field against off coverage. Like, he's got some really good tools in his bag. And if he develops more as a short to intermediate route runner with his tools, I mean, this guy could be a legitimate number one receiver in the league. I just think the Steelers need someone more NFL, pro ready out of the box. And I think Concepcion probably goes late round 1, early round 2 because of his profile. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. Which wide receiver prospects end up in Pittsburgh this year? Let me know which one you think goes in round 1. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. If I had to guess right now, I think the number one most likely person to end up being a Pittsburgh Steeler in round 1 is Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State. Now, that'll be it for today's edition of Round 1 Draft Targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, guys, you need to click that thumbs up icon and get us to 1,000 likes on today's show if you want my Day 2 draft targets at the wide receiver position for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a very good wide receiver class. A lot of receivers I'd be willing to take on Day 2 this year. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section, and also click that thumbs up icon. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.